again, welcome to the Finance World in Engage. And the information that we're going to learn today is a little bit focused in this semester, okay? It may change for the next semester, so this is just fall 2021, okay? Things may change, they may stay the same for the future, but just want you to keep in mind that this is for fall 2021. And at the same time that things may change as the months go by, depending upon what is happening in the world, but this is what we have to today, okay? So what we're going to do first is going to introduce the finance team. This moment is two of us. Ebony Smith, some of you know her. She's the financial administrator, and she's been taking care of the Fraternity and Sorority life for years, I believe. And also me, Luz Patterson, I'm the Assistant Director of Finance and Operation. And right now I am overseeing the whole department of the finance. So if you have any questions in the future, please feel free to email me. And you can always copy Ebony as well and Nadine as well. But any finance questions, please feel free to email me, okay? And if anything, I will reroute your email if it's somebody else that will take care of that. So that's kind of like the two of us right now. We may have someone else in the future, but this is it for us for now. What we're going to learn today, so what's in the agenda? The first thing is how CSI Finance supports your organization. We're going to learn a little bit about the finance page, so you can be familiar with it. Some of you are already, but just overview. We're going to learn about purchase request, the submission timeline for the purchase request, co-sponsorships, deposits, fundraising process for those that use it or do it, funding requests, and finally subscriptions and renewals. All right, so we're going to start with how CSI Finance supports your organization. So what we do is we managing your organization account, okay? We review and approve the purchase request and funding requests that you submit. And we also process all the payments that needs to be done, either for subscriptions or if you have stickers or any programming that you do, we will take care of those payments for you. So that's kind of the way we work in the finance world with your organization. So something that sometimes it's important for you to know, and some of you may ask question is, how can I use the funds? Well, there are some acceptable uses and some unacceptable uses. So the acceptable uses are, for example, cultural, social, and education enrichment programs, recreational and social activities, student media and publication, even though this one doesn't apply to you, but it's part of it. Student organization travel within prescribed limits, no airfare travel, fundraisings, and other student services. What you cannot use it is alcohol and tobacco purchases, personal gain, donations, individual membership fees, gift cards, monetary prices, and international travel, okay? So that's kind of like in general. Of course, if you have any ideas of doing something, you're not sure if that's acceptable or not, again, you can always, well, in this case, the best it will be to reach out to your FSL advisor, okay? Very good. So that's kind of like the overview. Now we're going to see is how to navigate in Engage, the managing your organization finance in Engage. So the first thing that you will do is to log in american.campuslab.com/engage. You will use your American University credentials. And once you do that, it will land you in the main page. And in here, you will be, the first thing you will see is all the organizations that you're a member of, okay? And also the events that are taking place around campus as well. So just for the sake of example, if you, let's say you belong to the Center for Student Involvement organization or any of the organizations, Pan-Hellenic or any organization that you belong to, you will click on it, okay? Once you click on it, you will go to Manage Organization. This is where you want it to click. And it will take you to the hamburger menu of your organization, which will show you the organization tools. These organization tools, you will see as many as whatever is what you are able to see depending on the position that you have into the organization. Some may see more than others. But in this case, what we wanted to focus is this is how you get to the finance page. Okay, so once you open the organization tool, you go all the way down. This one is kind of like the last one close to it. And you will click finance. Once you click finance, it will land you in the finance page. So what you can see in here is an overview of the purchase requests that you have submitted and the funding request as well that you have submitted. You will also be able from here to have access to the accounts and to create requests for purchasing or for funding. Here is where you want it to be in this page, okay? So just a little bit about the request. What you can see right in this page is all the requests that you have submitted from the very start of that organization was uploaded in Engage, okay? So all the history is there. So if you wanted to look in the past for some purchasing that you submitted, you can just search in here. And something neat as well about this is that you're able to follow up with the stage or the status of your request. In case you haven't heard from anyone, you can come in here and take a look at it and see what is the status of the request. The status is, for example, if it's approved, if it has canceled, or if it's still in an unapproved state, or if it's finalized or completed, as I mentioned here. So this helps you to see what is happening with the request. The stage is in case, again, if you haven't heard from us or anything, and you wanted to know who do you want to reach, well, the stage will tell you if the request is still new request, meaning nobody has seen it just yet, or if it's in the finance department, so we'll show you in here, or for some reason, usually once you submit it, I am the one that approves it, so it will change here from new request to the finance department. But if I have a question of something and perhaps I'm reaching to Nadir to ask him, so the stage may change to advisor. So if you have a question about this request and you wanted to check who is the one that you should ask about it, well, the stage will tell you whose hand or who's taking care of that at that moment. So you can email either Nadir or myself. Okay, so this is very neat on how to track your purchase request, okay? So now what we're going to focus a little bit is the account, so you know how to read your account statement, so to speak. So you will click in there, and this will take you to the account or accounts that your organization have. Some organizations have more than one. I believe most of you have just one account, but some may have more than one. So it will show you all the accounts that you have in Engage here. So in here is just a summary of the name and most importantly, how much money is available in your account. So you can take a quick look in here. And this is important so you know if you have enough money to spend in the whatever project you have, either programming or for a subscription or items that you need to get. So you wanted to see if it's enough money in here. However, if you want a little bit more details regarding the account, like I said, this is just a summary. So you will click right here where the name of the account and say this one, Baking Club Fundraising. So you will say, let's say you click in it and it will take you into the account details. This is kind of like a statement, bank statement. You can relate it with that for those that have the bank account statements. So in here, you will see the account number. You don't really need this much, but it is in there for your information. You will also see the request again, all the requests that have been submitted and the status and everything. And then you will also see transactions. What is the difference between the request and the transaction? With request is when you submit anything that you submit, any request that you have submitted. A transaction is when the finance department actually have paid and finalized that request that you have submitted. Let's say if you were submitting to pay $500 to a speaker. Well, only until we actually pay the speaker is when the money is gonna come out of your account. Okay, so that's when it will actually show right here under transactions. Okay, so if you wanted to know if has been paid or not. You can look at it here, or you can just go to the request, and the request will also tell you if it has been paid or not. But that's the difference between why the transaction and the request. Now, what I wanted to focus is in these three different amounts: the balance, the encumbered funds, and the available funds. The reason I want you to mention this is because when you're planning to have an event and you wanted to know how much money actually you have, I wanted to please ask you not to look at the balance, but to look at the available funds. The reason is because the balance does not reflect the true story until I finalize a transaction, okay? However, the available funds, once I approve a request, it will immediately take the money out from here. So you actually know, perhaps it's in encumbered funds, but it's already out. So you know how much you really have. So please don't look at the balance. Doesn't tell you the true story. The one that tells the story is the available funds, okay? So just focus more on that. So that's kind of like the statement kind of look like of the organization for you to see how much money you have and what is actually happened. It's very good for you to track what has been paid, what it has not, if you forgot to submit a request, or if you want to go back in time and see what's happening with one or the other. All of this you can take a look in here. Okay, it's a very nice feature for us. Very good. So that's all for the accounting. Now the accounts. Now just wanted to go back in here. The create request. We're gonna take a look at it in a moment as sample. So I'm not gonna spend time in this one just yet, but we're gonna take a look at it individually for the funding and for the purchasing request. Okay, but just keep in mind that here is where you want it to be in case you need to submit that. Very good. So what is a purchase request? You hear about Nadir talking to you about submitting purchase request, how important it is. Well, a purchase request is a record of money that is being spent from the organization's account for a specific amount. So that's all what it is a record that you created, a record that is what for you guys and as an organization and for us in the finance department, so we know what is the money being spent and to keep track of the money, okay? So what do you want to keep in mind before you submit a purchase request, okay? So before you submit a purchase request, have you, and please keep these three questions in mind before you submit this purchase request. So the first thing is, have you met with your advisor? If you have and your answer is yes, then you can check this one and then you can go to the next one. Have you confirmed the availability of funds in your account? Again, remember here the available. So if you check and you do have enough money, then you can check this one. Now we're 2 out of 3. And the last one is, have you gathered all the required documents? And we're gonna spend a moment about that in a second, okay? So if you check these 3, okay, then you can submit the purchase request. If something is missing, please don't submit the purchase request because it's gonna be, I really don't cancel or deny purchase requests. I'm just gonna be contact you, so it's gonna be taking longer. So please just make sure you you have those 3 checked so you can go ahead and submit it. So not sure if you have already your meeting about when you're discussing the 5-week submission timeline. So if you have, this is a little bit of a repeat in a way, but what I want you to, the reason I have it in here is so you know how the finance part of your event, or whatever you're having, how it fits within those 5-week submission timeline that the Center for Student Involvement has created for this semester for complex events, okay? But it also applies for purchases, simple events as well. So it's important that you keep it in mind, okay? So step 1 of that 5-week submission timeline is the initial submission and organization consultant meeting. So what you do in that one is submit event on Engage, and also you want to make sure that you meet with your advisor to talk through your request. Okay, so that's the step 1. Step 2 is the approval or denial and the purchasing process. So if the request is is approved by your advisor, okay, you will go ahead and submit the purchase request. And when you are submitting it, and this is what when I was talking here about gather all the required documents. So what documents do you want to make sure you have in there? If this is some kind of speaker, some kind of programming event that you're planning, you want to make sure that you have a draft contract, or if it's an invoice, what you're going to have, well, you want to make sure that you include it in there. However, if you're just purchasing something, you want to make sure that you have your shopping cart in there, a screenshot, it will be just fine for that. And if the event is a co-sponsorship, which we're going to talk about it later on, but if it's a co-sponsorship, you wanted to make sure that you attach an email agreement of that co-sponsorship, okay? And also in that request, it's important that you include all the vendors' contact information. This is very important because it makes my life easier, so I can contact your vendors or your speaker, whoever is what you're bringing, so we can gather the information that we need to gather from them to be able to pay them, to approve them and to pay them, okay? So that is what you want to make sure that you do when you are submitting the purchase request, that you have when you're submitting the purchase request. If the purchase request is approved for purchases, like subscriptions or items that you buy, you will get an email of approval from the finance department, okay? So just keep in mind that you're gonna get that email. And once you get that email, you will work with your FSL advisor to complete the purchase. So you don't have to meet with me, you're gonna meet with your FSL advisors to complete the purchase. Usually it will be something that is online, okay? However, if the event requires a contract, then you will be working directly with your FSL advisor. So this one will take a little bit longer because it will be just a contract, which that's why it's important that you keep in mind of doing this early because it takes time to get all of this paperwork together. So once you finish that, we're gonna go to step 3. Step 3 is event logistics and purchasing process. So the student event planning team work with CSI advisors to plan logistics. In the meantime, the finance department will contact the vendor to collect all the paperwork that we need. And that will include a PSA in case it's a speaker that you bring in but doesn't need a contract. Some don't need a contract, so we just do a PSA. So I will be in charge of sending that documents or to get the documents back from the vendor, okay? That's why it's important that you please put all the vendors' contact information in the purchase request. And now we go to 4 and 5, which is CSI complex event confirmation. So you will meet with your FSL graduate assistant or advisor for complex events confirmation. You will confirm the purchase delivery time, delivery date and time with us, and you will find we will finalize the paperwork that we needed. So hopefully the goal is that by the end of the 4 or 5 weeks, we have everything that we need, so you can go ahead with your event without a problem. You need to have everything collected before the event takes place, not after. So that's why it's important that I have that we work within this 5 timeline, because the goal is that before the event takes place, we have the contract or the PSA and your vendor is already in the system, so we don't have no hiccups later on. And something that is very important and that we're trying to ask your help on this is that after the event, which is called complete necessary after actions, we are creating, or it has been created as an attendance form. So you will submit the CSI event attendance form maximum 3 days after the event is the goal. Why is this important? Well, for different reasons, which when you have the meeting with programming was explained, but when it comes to the finance area, the reason is that I cannot pay your vendor if I don't know that the event took place, right? So because something could have happened, it could have been canceled or postponed or something. So I need to know if the event actually took place so I can submit the payment for them. Or in the case that if it's a co-sponsorship and you're expecting to get money from another organization or from another department, well, I can only do that first by paying your vendor and then by contacting the other department or organization so I can get your money back, okay? Or if you are the ones that are helping another organization, the only way for me to give money, your money to them is also by knowing that the event took place. So it's important that please you finalize the event attendance form. And in that way, your accounts will be up to date. So will be no confusion. Do I have $100 in here or I have 150? Well, if we have all the paperwork and everything up to date, then your accounts will be up to date. So it will be a definite collaboration between you guys and us in the CSI department. So that's kind of it when it comes to the submission timeline. Now we're gonna just see a quick example. I'm just gonna stop sharing this one here. And what we're going to do is we are going to see a sample of how to, how to submit a purchase request. Sorry, for the screen to make sure I get it right. Okay, so here is how exactly the steps of how to get to the finance page and to submit a request. Okay, so again, we're just gonna, this is the main page. We go to the Center for Student Enrollment. We're gonna click into manage your organization, and great, mine kicked me out. I apologize. 1 second. Something happened here. I apologize. Bear with me, won't be long. Oh, here I am. All right, so we go back in here. So we did manage your organization. Now we are going to click in here in the hamburger menu and go all the way down to finance. Okay. So again, here is the finance page, and this is where is the create request that we were talking about. So here you're going to click, and there are 3 different options. You do not use option number 1. Okay, you will use option number 2 for purchase request. Number 1 is you don't use it at all. But 2 and 3 you will, but in this case we're gonna do purchase request, which is number 2. Okay. So what? Once you click in there, there are some basic information that you have to fill in here. So the subject, for example, is the name of the speaker, if it's a speaker, or if it's a subscription, the name of the subscription you're having it with. For example, if it's Adobe, then you're gonna write that this is, that this is Adobe subscription. Or if you're having a speaker and the speaker is Miller. Miller is one of the ones that we have last year. So you're just gonna write Chanel Miller, and then maybe you can just write the speaker in there. Okay. So depending on what it is, that's what you wanted to write in the subject. Important is that it's something easy for you and for me to identify what are we talking about. Okay, so it could be a name, or if it's a subscription, or an Amazon purchase, so you're just gonna write in there. If it's an Amazon purchase, for example, where it's important that you write in here what it is for, what type of event it is. This is for, like, we're doing Welcome Week, for example, or we're doing, not sure, different events that it happens during the fall or the spring or during the year. So you just wanted to let us know what it is for. So in that way, it's easy as well to identify. In the description, well, if it's an Amazon, well, you cannot give a little description of what is it that you want this for, the purpose. But if it's, let's say it was for Miss Miller, you're just gonna say Miller, Chanel, I'm sorry, Chanel Miller, and just gonna write speaker. You're gonna write in here, who are you getting this speaker from? In this case, usually they belong to different organization that we get a speaker from. One of them is Kepler, so you're gonna write that it's from Kepler's. Think something that will give you an idea of what is this event for, okay? And the next is just the amount. So just say we're gonna pay $5,000 to this speaker. The category, in here you have different ones depending on what it is again. Like in here, for example, you have the speaker, if it's for the speaker, it is professional service. If you're just getting some service to do something in the not necessarily a speaker, it could be just a panelist or things like that. You can just select professional service, memberships, if it's food, things like that. If it's a subscription, you can use operating expenses, for example, or you can also use membership. Either one is fine. So you have plenty of options in here that you can select to. So you can also, this is good for your organization as well. So you know what you've been spending the money more in, your money's more in, okay? And the account, then you're gonna select account in here. And usually it will be just one account that the one that it will show up in there, which is your account. So you're just gonna select it and it will populate it right there. So this is the basic information. Something in here is the pay. With the pay, we want to make sure that you write down who is really the money going to. So for example, if we're talking about Miss Miller, who do we get Miss Miller from? Which company we got it from? Well, it's Kepler. So the money is not going to go to Miss Miller, it's going to go to Kepler. So please write down in there that company, okay? No need to write any of this other information, I just need to know the basic name. Don't have to worry about addresses and phone numbers and any of that stuff. Then this is an additional information that you have to definitely incorporate in there. So the funding source, so if it's from allocation money or it's from revenue. So you have to select in there the one that it belongs to you, depending on what it is. Purchasing type, if it's a subscription or ordering of items, you can just select online order. However, again, if it's something related to programming, please select check, okay? You don't really necessarily give a check. It could be a direct deposit or anything, but just check is fine, all right? So we say, so select check. And is this a co-sponsor event? If yes, well, you just write yes, and sorry, yes. And important is here is who are you doing it with? Who is this? Is the person that is helping you with in this event? Well, let's say it's another organizations or another department. Let's say you are working with women's KPU, which is more familiar with KPU on this case. Well, you just write KPU, and preferably here if you can write how much is KPU helping you with. That's a good idea. If not, well, you're gonna give it that information to me in another way anyway, but for now, this is good. The date of the event, let's say September 25. If this is a virtual event, we know that we are encouraging virtual events at this moment. So you're gonna write, I'm sorry, you don't write, you just write the platform that you're doing it with. So let's say Zoom, okay? The address of your vendor. So if it's a subscription, just write the subscription address. But if it's for, this is just for the sake of the example that we are giving. This is the company that we give speakers, so it will be keplers.com. So you just write that. The vendors, in case you are working with a specific person from Kepler, so you're gonna write the name or the email of that or the person that you've been communicating with. Okay, so let's say it's not it from Kepler's. I'm just making that up. And the last one is to upload the estimate, the quotes, invoice, contract, anything that you have. It's very important that you upload it in here. Okay, it will not let you submit the request if you don't submit it, so please make sure you submit it. And that's it. You don't have to worry about any of these things at this moment, but at the end, you're just gonna submit the request. I'm not gonna submit it now because it's just a sample. But once you submit it, it will reflect right away in your into your accounts, and it will come directly to us as well in Engage. I will be able to see it right away. Okay. So that's the example of how to submit a purchase request. It's not really complicated. It's just about making sure that you have the documents, as I mentioned, and the basic information of what is this event and who is it that this event is. If you have a partnership or anything with someone, so to write it in here. Just basic information, is nothing really complicated. Okay. Very good. So we're going to stop sharing here and we're going to go back to the presentation. So just 1 second. I did not mention that, but I believe that it was wanted me to make sure that I mentioned that purchase requests are usually submitted by the consuls, not too much for the chapters. They are the ones that submit the purchase requests, okay? So for you to keep in mind. All right, so now that you're expert with the purchase request, we're gonna learn a little bit about co-sponsorships. I'm not sure if you do that a lot in your organizations, but if you do, it's important that you know the role, depending what role you're playing, what is what you need to do. So if you are the event organizer, okay, what is what you're supposed to do? So the organization responsible for the event will submit a purchase request for the total amount of the event. And it will follow the steps previously outlined, the timeline that we talk about, okay? The 5-week timeline. So keep in mind, if you are responsible, you submit it for the total amount. So let's go back to Ms. Miller example. It costs $5,000 to bring Ms. Miller to, this is just an example, to campus. So if you are the organizer, well, you submit a request for the 5,000. Even though you have some co-sponsorship with that, but you are the one that is responsible for the 5,000, okay? So what should you do in addition to submit the purchase request? An email should be sent to the finance department with the co-sponsorship information, and it should include the name of the event, attachments with the agreement with the co-sponsors, indicating the amount that you are agreeing, okay? And if the co-sponsor is with another department, the email should include the name and contact information of the person you are communicating with on that department. So just to make it clear, the name of the event, please include it in that email that you're sending me. And the attachment, the important is so I can go to that organizations that are helping you with that, your co-sponsors, so I can go and tell them what you promised that you were gonna give $500 to Panhellenic for Ms. Miller's event. So in here is the email that was agreed. So once I have that, so I can go and show that information to them so they can wire the money, or not wire, transfer the money to us, to your account. Okay, so that's why this is very important. And the part in here, if you're working with another department, it's very important that you include this, because departments are big and you know who you've been talking with, but I don't know. So it's important that you write in the email includes the name and the contact information of whoever you have been talking with regarding that co-sponsorship, okay? Make life easier so I can get the money as quick as possible back into your account. Now, if you are not the event organizer, but you just type in someone that is having an event, so you're a co-sponsor. So again, the co-sponsorships can be between organizations, within organizations, or with another university department. So what will you do as a co-sponsor? Okay, the organization that will co-sponsor the event will submit a request for the amount they agree upon. And it should include the name of the event, okay, and attachment of the co-sponsorship agreement. Again, an email is fine. So just keep that in mind. So you will submit a request for the amount that you agree that you were going to have. So let's go back to Ms. Miller. Let's say Ms. Miller event was done by KPU, and you told KPU that you're gonna help them with $500. So you are going to submit a request for the $500. And you're going to attach that agreement that you had between KPU and you, saying that you are helping with $500. Okay? Why is that important? Is because for me to go and get money from your account, I have to have some backup document. So I can say, oh yes, I took $500 of this account because here is the agreement and here is the purchase request that it says I can do that. So I can go and pay KPU, okay? However, if you are responsible for a specific purchase for that event, let's say you are doing the, I don't know, the sodas, or you're buying tablecloths or something for a specific event. So you don't have to submit a purchase request for a specific amount and write all that information because you're just submitting a purchase request, okay? So just submit a purchase request, normal, as usual. There is no need for an email, and you just have to follow the regular steps of the 5-week timeline. That's all what you need to do. It's good if you write it in there, what is that in the description, for example, or in the subject. If you're saying this is Amazon purchase for co-sponsorship with KPU for Miss Miller event, for example. Okay, so the more information you write in there, the better it will be for the future. Because right now you may remember, but a month or next semester you may not remember what it was that for. But if you write it in there, when you are going back into your records, you will say, oh yes, this was for this or for that. Okay. So that's about the co-sponsorship. I hope it was clear. And if not, again, please free to ask questions later on, or when you are ready to have an event and need to take care of this, feel free to ask again. Okay, no problem. So now we're going to go into payments and deposits. So some organizations need to deposit checks into their account, for depending on what they are depending on where the funds are coming from. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is do what you're doing today, which is complete the CSI Finance Training. Then you will confirm invoice amount with respective council and Fraternity and Sorority Life by responding to the email. Step 3, you will complete a funding request, which we're going to learn in a moment, on Engage in your organization's finance portal. Step 4, you will submit payment directly, it's very important, to the FSL advisor via check or money order. Please do not bring the check if you have not submitted the funding request. Submit the funding request first, and then you bring the check. So in that way, we know what is that for exactly. We can cross it and say, okay, this belongs to this funding request, okay? But if you just bring a check, don't know what it is for, we don't want it to just sit in there. We want to make sure we know which funding request belongs to. Step 5, wait for the check to be deposited and funding request to be approved by the CSI Finance Administration. Ensure the money has been withdrawn from your bank. This is very important. If you see that it came out, then it means the transaction took place, okay? Receive confirmation of paid amount from the respective council leadership and or the CSI advisor. This is for the councils only, for 2 fees only. You will submit purchase requests matching the invoice amount, okay? So I know the council views are the 2 fees. So once you get the invoice amount, you wanted to make sure to submit the purchase request and just follow the steps that we just went through when it comes to purchase requests, okay? So that is about payments and deposits. Now what we're going to see, a quick example again, is in how to submit a funding request. It's very similar, okay? So just bear with me. Just want to make sure we have it. Give me just a second, please. I need to go back in there. So we're just gonna back up here for a moment. So going back into the finance main page, we're going to create requests. In this, we're going to create funding request, which is the last one, okay? So again, like I said, this is very similar to the purchase request. We want to make sure it's not get confused. The funding request is utilized for deposits transactions only, okay? That's what the funding requests are. So the subject in this case, we want to know is what is this check that you need to be deposited for, or that you're given the check for your dues or for whatever it is what you're paying. So you want to make sure that you're going to write here dues, and for the screen, it does kind of like Nadir asset from screen to okay, and the description, maybe just sometimes it's a repeat, but please just write a little information about the description. And we can just say it's the same thing in here. How much is the check that you are paying for those dues? For example, I don't know, I'm just making something 115. Category, it will be dues, is right there for if it's for dues, okay. And the account that you're gonna select in here, it will be your account again. Well, it will show up right there and it will populate. And the funding request will be from the revenue account. And in here, you're just gonna write down the name of who is the check, right? Who is writing this check? So if it's one of your organization, you're just gonna write the organization in there. Or if it's somebody's name as well, you're just gonna put it that is Mr. John Williams. Okay, so just write the pay's name in there. You wanna make sure that you write the email as well, whatever email it is. Base phone number, if you have it, that is not that important. The invoice number is very important that you write it down, please, because in that way we can process, we can relate to it which invoices that you actually paid, and the invoice date. Okay, please make sure you write down there. And in here, very important that you please upload the invoice again. For us, it's important that you put it in there, please. Okay. So again, it's just to be able to cross information and we know what is it that we're working with. Checks email confirmation if you have it, but it's just an invoice most of the time for you guys. And in here, please, if at all possible, if you have it, please upload a copy of the check. Okay. This is important as well, but if for some reason it was mailed before to CSI, well, that would be different. You won't have access to it, but if you do have it, like I mentioned, the idea is that you submit this funding request before the check, you bring the check to the office. So please make a copy of the check and upload it, okay? And then you can submit it. I think that's all what about the deposit for payments that you're doing for dues, or it is also apply again for any other checks that you may have to pay if you're paying the council for a 2 fixed request. So you want to make sure that you also send the check, put the check in here. Okay, the funding request, you put it in there. Usually for the chapters, your accounts will show up in negative because again, you don't use purchase requests, you don't get allocation like some organizations do. So this is just more for you to keep track of your checks that you are paying, the dues that you're paying. So you keep track of that, that it was received, that it was deposited and everything. So that's the idea of creating this funding request for you guys, for your organizations, to keep a good track of that. And in that way, we won't be wondering, did they get the check? They didn't get the check. Was it the check deposit? Was not deposit? Well, if we follow the steps that we just went over when it comes to deposits and to create a funding request, that would be very helpful for you guys to keep your organizations up to date, the finance part up to date. Okay, so please take advantage of this feature. I believe it's going to be very helpful for you all. Okay, let me just go back here to the presentation. There's a couple more things that we want to make sure that you are that you learn or that you're aware of, which is something that the councils and the chapters use a lot, is the 2 fixed. So what do you have to do when it comes to submit requests and payments for 2 fix, okay? So pre-event, what are the steps? Well, step 1 is complete the CSI finance training, which you're doing it. Step 2, review and begin the 2 fixed service request form. Step 3, complete the plan 2 fixed use worksheet and upload the estimates from the form. Sorry, estimate form from step 2. I'm sorry, it was a little tricky there for me. And step 4 is the chapters will submit the 2 fixed requests directly to 2 fix. Okay, so I'm not sure if it was clear. So the first or the second is you will review and begin the request, the 2 fixed requests. Then after you do that, you will complete the plan 2 fixed use, and I'm gonna upload the estimate that you got from here. And 4, it will be that the chapters will submit the request directly to fix. We won't be doing it for you guys. FSL will not be doing it for you guys. And what will take place after that, the post events, is that you're gonna complete the steps 1 through 8 of payments and deposits. Okay, that's what you need to do. And regarding the links for the 2 fix, please refer to the FSL 1-pagers document that Nadir sent you. All the appropriate links are in there. Okay, in case you're wondering how to get to there, he sent that to you guys, so you should have those links with you. Now, fundraising is something that the organizations do in American universities. So there are some specific rules or process that you have to follow or keep in mind. So we're just going to touch based on them, just in case you do fundraising this semester. Okay, so mandatory student activity fees may not be donated to non-university organizations. However, a recognized student organization may sponsor a fundraising program for the purpose of supporting a non-university organization. However, if the organization organized a fundraising without using the student activity fees, which is the case that on your case, they may use the proceeds as revenue. Okay, so what is the steps for the fundraising in case you do get some revenue? So you're going to submit the funding request, like you already learned how to do it. And then if the money that you're getting is through an ACH deposit, I will show you the information for ACH deposit. But if you got it in the form of a check, then you will drop the check to your FSL advisor, okay? No cash is accepted. So if you did a fundraising and you have a lot of cash from there, you have to either deposit it in your accounts and bring us a check, because we are not taking cash this semester. Okay, most likely we're going to stay with that policy of no cash, only checks or ACH deposits. And you're going to follow the steps for deposits again. And in case the proceeds that you are getting you're not going to be using it for your revenue, but they will be donated. Okay, then a purchase request should be submitted after the deposit has been cleared. The idea for the purchase request, you may wonder, well, I have to do a funding request and now have to do a purchase request. Well, a funding request, you're getting the money into your account, okay? But the purchase request is for me to take the money out, or you're telling me, please take this money out of your account and please pay or give it to such and such organization that we chose to donate it to. Okay, so that's why we need the purchase request after we have gone through the processing of getting the money from the fundraising. Okay, so just 2 steps that you have to do. If you are not going to use it for, if this was just for revenue, well, you don't have to submit a funding request. You're just going to keep it in there until you are going to use it. Okay, so those are kind of like the steps that you want to make sure you keep in mind. There is the information in here for the ACH, but this is just for your information. When you are really ready to do it, you can just approach us and we're gonna give it to you again. This is just usually companies or whoever you're working with this fundraising, they will say, well, we're going to give you the money, just direct deposit. So they will request this information, the name of the account number, address, and things like that, the routing number, which is very important. So we will provide that information for you again. You don't have to write it down or anything like this. Very good. And last but not least is the subscriptions and renewals guidelines. So most organizations have yearly, some have monthly subscriptions. So we want to make sure that you keep a log of your organization subscriptions, including the renewal dates. We want to verify that the payment information is up to date. So if the credit card is going to expire, we want to make sure that we update it before the subscription is going to renew. So that's why it's important that you know the renewal dates. So if it's going to expire, just contact us and we will get into your account and update the information, okay? The credit card information. Once your subscription is renewed, submit the purchase request as soon as you get the email renewal. So please do not wait until Nadir or I have to email you saying, can you please submit a purchase request for this subscription that we just got a charge for. Please, you already got an email telling you that you got us, that it's been renewed. And you also have a log of your subscriptions with the renewal date, so you should know when it's up to renewal. So please just submit the request once it's done, okay? And if you need to make any adjustment to the subscriptions, like upgrades or things like that, well, in that case, you're not gonna submit the request just yet. You're gonna have to contact Nadir or your advisor first, okay? And after that, it's just following up the regular steps of a purchase request. And I think that's it. When it comes to the basic information, if you need any additional information, please feel free to go to the Center for Student Involvement organization in Engage. We have financial forms in there. And if you don't find what you need in there, you can email us and we will provide it for you. And if you have any other questions regarding this, again, please free to email me, email Nadir. You can also email the Center for Student Involvement email, okay? And there is a lot of information in our website as well for the Center for Student Involvement. So you can just go, the link is right here, it's american.edu/OCL/student involvement. There's a lot of information that you may find helpful. And we also have a question, FIQ in there as well. So you can just go in there and find perhaps the answers to your questions. Again, if you don't, feel free to let us know. And I think that's it for real.